Hey everybody, it's John Kadlic with another edition of Trail Talks from the team here at Parallel Path. Today I'm with Molly Thompson, a good buddy of mine, which I'll get to here in a second. But we are at Inniswood Metro Gardens in Westerville, Ohio on somewhat of a chilly gray day, but we're going to make the most of it anyway. So Molly and I worked together years ago at an agency, and she's since gone on to do some incredible things, including founding and being the main character of what Molly made.
Yes.
So maybe for those that don't know you as much, you could talk a little bit about your background, then we'll get into it.
Yeah, so I studied marketing in college, and right out of college I worked in communications, worked at Resource, the agency we worked at together, and then jumped around to one more agency, all the while following this passion of cooking and learning more about blogging. And I did that on the side for 5 or 6 years, and then it grew enough where I went like 2 feet in, like full time, and I've been doing that since 2018. So it's been 8 years I've been doing cooking, blogging, food blogging full time.
Well, I have a million things I want to ask you,
Yeah.
so we'll just kind of tackle things one by one. So I know you said that cooking was a passion of yours from a young age, 13, if I read it right.
Yep.
And so were you always thinking you wanted to do something like this, and this was just a way to express it, or was there some other avenue that made it become real?
I started my cooking journey. So what's hilarious is neither of my parents cook, like, at all. Like,
that is funny.
They actually, they cooked growing up out of need, like we had to eat, but like, we ate the same 5 things. So it's funny because I found my passion in cooking with my friends' parents who love to cook and bake, and one of my friends gave me my first cookbook when I was 13.
Okay.
And I specifically remember making this banana bread and these scones, and my mom loved them and requested them, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can make people happy doing this, make an impact. And so then I just kind of cooked and baked for a while, and then that same friend who got me the cookbook, we cooked together all the time. And when we went off to college, we were like, let's start this blog to share our recipes with each other. And I realized quickly that I loved it. I loved the creative aspect. I loved the strategy of it, like the back-end marketing strategy, which really tied into like what I studied in school. And I loved, obviously, the creativity. And I was like, I think I want this to be my career one day. So I started researching if that was even possible. And I found a ton of resources that people were already doing it for a living. And my friend was like, it's not my thing, I don't want to. So I rebranded the blog to What Molly Made. So that's kind of how it started. And from there, I just experimented. And 10 years later, I'm now going back to those very first recipes, and I'm like, these are fun and creative, but like they're written so bad. Like over the past 10 years, I've really fine-tuned and honed in on how I develop and write recipes. And I've gained so much experience and done so many cooking, I've watched tons of workshops and I work with the Ohio Beef Council, and they take us out and do cooking demos with chefs and stuff. So it's been cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So give everybody just a little scale of the wonderful reach you've now accomplished over that period of time.
So my site now reaches 2 million page views a month. And I have 600,000 Instagram followers and 60,000 on TikTok. So Instagram's definitely my biggest spot, as well as I have 130,000 people on my email list.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I get to reach a lot of people, which is really cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you've been very open about how your sort of focus evolved when you had some personal things with PCOS.
Yeah.
So maybe talk me through that and how it influenced what Molly Made is now.
So it's an interesting career because I don't think most careers follow your personal journey, such as being an influencer and a blogger. I started out doing a lot of baking, and then when I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is a hormone disorder rooted in inflammation and blood sugar dysregulation. So one of the biggest ways to heal naturally is really by changing your diet. So I did this. I already ate healthy and really cared about that, but I did a full 180, and I did this extreme protocol, and I was like, I want my recipes to reflect my real life. So I started developing recipes, and I started reaching and telling my story a little bit more with PCOS. And I started reaching a lot of people who were going through the same thing, maybe a year or two behind me. And so I do a lot of anti-inflammatory. I wrote an anti-inflammatory cookbook in that season. And then I had kids. And so now I'm kind of like healthy, approachable, quick, easy recipes. I've kind of evolved again.
Yeah.
In a way where now that I'm like really healed from PCOS for the most part, I still live with it and it's always kind of top of mind, but I've healed from where I was, and so now I can be a little bit more flexible, and I find that that's also what people are looking for. So I kind of now have a breadth of 10 years of this journey, and almost exactly people go on the same journey. They're very overwhelmed and confused. They go like strict, rigid with their like diet and their lifestyle, and then they find flexibility in like long-term lifestyle. So I'm grateful that the food that I develop and the tips and just stories that I've shared have been able to reach people across that whole journey, just like me.
Well, it's sort of great that you've been able to have this mimic your own personal journey.
Yes.
You've not had to put on airs, if you will.
Yes.
You know, all these chapters of your life impact you, and you get to do it authentically.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great.
It is very cool. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know the behind-the-scenes life of an influencer or a blogger, and it's a big lift. I know that.
Yeah.
So can you just talk through all the things to how you think about content, what's the process you go through, et cetera, because there's a lot there.
There is a lot there. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and she was like, you do so many things. I'm like, I do so many things. And so the hub of my business, or like my blog, is my website. So that's kind of like the center of the ecosystem, if you will, because that's where all my recipes really live. So I kind of approach content strategy from like what recipes are going to live on my site, and I always have a running list of like recipe ideas from like going to restaurants or inspiration or things like that. But really, food blogging now is an art and a science, because there's so much Google SEO involved. So I have to really like run all of my ideas through kind of like an SEO lens.
Yeah.
And I use some tools for that. But I also send out a survey to my audience at the beginning of the year and ask them like what kind of recipes they want. So that really kind of helps me be able to balance the what does my audience want and what does Google want? Like what does you know what I mean? So that's a tough battle that a lot of influencers face. But so there's like a ton of back-end strategy, like even before I start cooking or like filming videos, right? So I have my editorial calendar and I have it all planned out, and then I shoot recipes twice a month, and I have a kitchen assistant now who comes in and helps me. She orders the groceries and helps me chop and film and stuff, which is so nice. She's like one of my best friends, so it's really just a fun day. And then that's twice a month now. I really like to batch work my content.
And you have like outfit changes in the whole bit? Or
I just keep the same outfit on because
I like it.
because I'm like I used to, and I'm like I can't be bothered. Like,
right.
and usually I post them like a week apart anyway, and so I'll be posting other stuff in between. So I'm like,
Oh, the heck with it.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So then the in between time is editing photos, editing videos, writing the blog posts, creating the pins, posting to YouTube, like all the social stuff. We do weekly emails to my email list, or weekly meal plans to my email list. So I work on all that. So it's interesting because I think people see me forward facing online or like on Instagram, and really the filming is really only like a couple days out of my month.
Yeah.
The rest of it is a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of like writing and marketing, really.
It's like a full-on business.
It is,
and
yeah.
people don't appreciate that. So
Yeah.
like, what, on average, I know every day is probably radically different, but on average, like how many hours of a day are you putting against this in total?
I work all day, every day but Thursdays. I stay home with my son.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter's in preschool, so she's all week preschool, but I get some quality time with him, and so it's like a 9 to 5 type deal. Occasionally I'll have to do something on the weekends, but not usually. And most days are somewhat the same. I typically start them, check email, do all the things, and then I get into updating old blog posts, and I now have a small team. Yeah. So that's new for me because I've not managed like a team before. So that's a new thing that I spend some of my time doing.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
And what would you say, just roughly,
Yeah.
of 100% of time,
Yeah.
how much is good old-fashioned manual labor, and how much is automation or tech helping you these days? And it might change
question.
a year from now or 2 years from now. Like, what's it in the moment?
Yeah. I would say the majority of it is still manual, like labor, like posting or like creating. That's obviously all me. But I do use tools to help me automate my Instagram DMs and grow my email list. I use ChatGPT for like a lot of brainstorming or data analysis. I use it for like, I think I had like 2,000 or 3,000 responses from my survey, and I dumped them all in there and had it analyze all the results to help me understand my audience, which is cool.
Perfect.
And obviously I have schedulers for social and things like that. So I would say like percentage-wise, still like 90% me, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people have a misnomer about that. I mean, this is a heavy lift.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the brand side of things.
Okay.
So I don't know the full extent of your brand relationships.
Yeah.
And you've been at this for a while, so I'm guessing you have more opportunities than somebody who's early stage in this whole thing. So, how many brands do you engage with? How do you engage with them? If you want to talk about economics, fine. If you don't, fine. But I think that's a curiosity because some of the people who are going to see this are brand people.
Right. Yeah. I do work with brands. I have a couple long-term partnerships. This year, I always work with like the Ohio Beef Council that I mentioned, and the Ohio Poultry Association. It's like all the ag people in Ohio, which is such a great partnership. And the reason I love them is because they let me do whatever I want. It's super creative. I mean, there's obviously guardrails, but they really let me do my own thing. And I find those partnerships are always the best.
Yeah.
I had one of my Ohio Beef reels went viral in the fall, which was cool. I work with grocery stores a lot, so I have Fresh Time, and I'm working with them and Dave's Killer Bread. So it's interesting because a lot of times it's like 50-50 working with an agency who's representing a brand and then the brand
Okay, that
directly.
was going to be one of my questions. So it's equal split?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty equal split. I'm also going to be working with Happy Egg, who I'm working with them directly. They don't have an agency. So yeah, I would say it's more 75% agency, mostly agency.
Okay.
And I mean, a decent amount of my income last year was brand work, over 6 figures, I would say. So it's like, that's great. It's great work. I think I had like 4 or 5 brand partnerships last month, which was like a little too much. My goal is more like 2 to 3 really quality, great relationships. Ideally long term. Like if I can sign a year, that would be better, I think, for me, but also for my audience, because it feels more authentic in a way. I also have a brand manager now who helps me, which is so nice. And we're starting this new strategy where I just start tagging brands organically in the like recipes I'm already making with like brands obviously I'm using just all the time.
Yeah.
And then kind of putting together a pitch with like Influence Kit and saying, here are the numbers organically. We'd love to work with you. Do you have any campaigns coming up? How can we help?
So you're going outbound in that regard.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for brands, like to get the most out of folks like yourself? Because I think that also is a mystery, or some people do it wrong or clunky.
Yeah.
Others really nail it.
I think the one thing is really giving some creative freedom and not trying to like bog influencers down with like, obviously there needs to be a creative brief, there needs to be guidelines, we need to have key messaging that's helpful, but like I've always found with food blogging specifically, the best partnerships are the ones where they let me make up the recipe and kind of do my own thing and then provide some feedback, but they're pretty much hands off in a way from like a creative perspective. That's when I've had reels go viral. I think also up front being very clear on like what the KPIs are, like what is your goal? Are you trying to get engagement? Are you wanting to see sales? And typically a long-term thing I've noticed, like sometimes it's hard with a one-off, especially with social, it's so hit or miss now.
Right.
So being able to work together and learn from one to be able to try again and
not feel the pressure to like nail it on the one time you have
yeah,
the shot.
Exactly.
Right.
And you know, I've worked with Fresh Time for 2 years now. They're like a Midwest local-ish grocery store, and I've had a couple reels with them go viral and do really well, and some not do well, and I think that's just part of it.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, you've been at this for a while.
Yeah.
Excuse my hoarseness. What is what is at the end of the day, like what's most rewarding to you? Like what keeps you going?
Definitely the feedback from people. I get comments on my blog and DMs and my Instagram saying that like they are so overwhelmed with cooking when they get home from work, and like my meal plans have like saved them and made such a difference in their life. Or someone who, I have tons of screenshots of women who got pregnant after being diagnosed with PCOS because infertility is a big factor with PCOS. And so I have all these screenshots of women DMing me telling me like their doctors told them they would never be able to get pregnant on their own, and then they got pregnant on the second try. And
that's incredible.
So yeah, it's been really, I think being able to connect with people, like I think that's the goal, right? I love making recipes, but I kind of forget when you look at the numbers that those are actually people that you're making a difference. Every single person, you know, is making a recipe at night. Like I can look at my site and be like, oh, there's, 2,000 people on my site right now. That's a lot of people really like getting around the table with their family and enjoying a meal that I get to be a small part of, which is cool. Yeah.
I also know that this isn't always, puppy dogs and butterflies. So like the low points, when you're tired or you're trying to be your best mom to your kids or just battling illness, you name it. Like what do you do to sort of push through those moments, or do you just sort of honor where you are and just shut it down for a while and then come back to it?
I think there's been seasons where I try to push through and end up burning out, and that's not healthy for me or my husband or my kids or anything. And I've learned that. So I think 10 years in now, I do really honor how I'm feeling. I'm in a season right now where I'm slowing down. Last year was a huge year of growth for me. And this year I'm like, I'm okay. I don't need to like do the same thing. And I'm taking a little bit more time. It's hard though, I will say, like, because I think every working mom feels this. When you're working, you're like, should I be doing this with my kids? And then when you're with your kids, you're like, I have all this stuff to do. And it's hard. It's a little bit hard to be present, but I've been really focusing on creating like morning routines that help me be grounded and enjoy things that I love, like working out and reading outside of work, that I think make me a better rounded person, boss, mom, everything like that. I try.
You juggle a lot.
Yeah.
You juggle a lot. Well, as we kind of bring ourselves home a bit, we could probably talk all day. You've got me so curious.
Yeah.
But in respect to the time, what's one thing you do for your own personal health and wellness?
I work out a lot in the mornings. That really is more of a mental health thing for me than anything. And I read at night, which I love to read. And I would say I have a really, really good, so this isn't one thing, this is three things. But
that's okay.
I have really, really good friends. So doing like coffee with my friends or a girls' night just to like talk has been really great. Yeah.
And when you work out at home, you go somewhere?
I work out at home. We have a little basement gym, and I do Peloton. I do a mix of Peloton, like strength training and HIIT workouts, and Nourish Move Love is a YouTuber that I love, and she's got awesome workouts that are like really strength training based. So I do a lot of her stuff too.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful to
Yeah.
reconnect with you
Yeah.
after so long.
Yeah, it's an
And
awesome.
what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Thank
and
you.
Love you having the success you're having
Yeah.
after all the hard work you're putting in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't do their passion for a living.
Yeah, it's
It
really
sounds
cool.
like you threaded it together pretty nicely.
Yeah. I try it every day. I wake up and I'm like, I'm so grateful that I get to make a difference in people's lives and have the flexibility and be creative. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And also thanks to all of you for joining another edition of Trail Talks. We'll see you out on the trail again here soon. Take care, everybody.